Hello YouTube, it is the Hunter, once again doing something a little different than the usual vintage VHS or DVD promo or any kind of anime commercial that I normally do. I decided to make a video on these because I'm subscribed to another YouTuber called Box Tyme, and he did a retrospective on If Labs, but he mainly focused on Dragon Ball Z and original Dragon Ball and basically excluded Yu Yu Hakusho because he did not know anything about Yu Yu. So to pick up the slack and being the big Yu Yu Hakusho fan that I am, I decided to do the If Labs version myself. Now, for those who don't know, If Labs was a company alongside a toy company called Irwin Toys, who were making Dragon Ball Z figures at the time. If Labs basically made highly detailed action figures for Dragon Ball Z, original Dragon Ball, and Yu Yu Hakusho. There were 8 figures in total. I've got 6 of them. I do not have Botan or Suzaku. I really didn't care for them. This is just my personal collection. Or, I should be more accurate, these are actually my wife's figures. She's a bigger Yu Yu Hakusho fan than I am. I'm a bigger Dragon Ball Z fan, but I enjoy Yu Yu Hakusho all the same. So, let's get started with the first figure from the first wave. That would be Yusuke himself. Now, this is Yusuke Urameshi. He's the main character from Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know that. He is in his classic green outfit. For an accessory, he comes with, Pooh, his inner self unleashed through an egg. Cute little accessory, although kind of big when you want to display it on his head how it's supposed to be. It can balance, but it falls off pretty easily. All figures are supposed to come with this little stand board here. Some of mine don't have all their accessories, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, these are the boards. They're hollow too. Like, it's really cheap hollow, but it's better than the ones with Dragon Ball Z. So here's Yusuke. Basically pre-posed to do the spirit gun. Like, that's one thing I would like to highlight, is that these were made by If Labs, who wanted to make them statue-like quality in the year 2002. However, the Yu Yu Hakusho ones actually feel like statues and are kind of like morely pre-posed compared to the other 2 shows. Like, I've got an If Labs Battle Damage Goku here. You can definitely see the difference in quality. This one, while having a lot of detail itself, actually looks like a toy still, or an action figure, whereas this one can still pass for a statue, although he does have movability like a toy. Alright, close up of the figure's face. It looks really accurate to how the character's supposed to look. A lot of good detail there in the face. He's a little cross-eyed, but it's okay. It's okay. Good detail, and a lot of detail in his hair. The jacket and the clothes all have wrinkles. Shoes are really detailed as well. Now, while he does have articulation where he can be posed, like head and all that, swivel in the arms or at the shoulders, elbows, waist, hips and knees, and foot movement. However, he's obviously meant to be standing like this with the spirit gun ready. So that's basically all you can do with him in terms of posability. But it still looks cool, though, especially if you really like statue-like figures. So yeah, this was the first one in the wave. This figure was re-released by Jakks Pacific when they took over from If Labs and gave it a more of a battle damage look. But realistically, it's just certain spots are just like dirt. Like, there would be some dirt right here, or his hands would have some scuffs. But other than that, it's the same figure. I personally like this one better, so this is the one I got. So if you're a big fan of Yusuke, I highly suggest picking this one up, especially because it looks really cool. Next figure in the wave was Kuwabara. came with the base too, although mine's is a little broken. And he came with his spirit sword, although a slight inaccuracy is that it has a katana blade. Kuwabara does not need one. The only time he ever had to use one was in the Genkai tournament, but even then that was a plank of wood. But I guess because it was the year 2002, I guess they hadn't figured out how to make the energy like fit his hand without needing a handle. So I guess it's all right. I mean, it's just a nitpick, but especially if you're into those accurate ones. And speaking of accuracy, he looks pretty accurate too. Face is a little grumpy though. I mean, but then again, Kuwabara is always grumpy, especially when he wants to beat the shit out of Yusuke. He has the same amount of opposability as Yusuke, but like legs are limited, swivel. So just like Yusuke, he's basically pre-posed like this, and it's a huge, solid figure too, like really heavy and really bulky. He's the rarest of the figures from this first wave, so if you manage to find him, get him. He may be a little pricey, especially in the box, but he's definitely worth adding into your collections. Yeah, not much else I can really say about this one. You know, it's the same detail quality, statue quality as Yusuke. Next we have Hiei. This one version of Hiei is based off of the Dark Tournament saga. You can tell by the bandages on his arms and his outfit, like he doesn't have his jacket or anything. He looks really accurate. He looks really accurate too. They got some blue highlights in the hair too to highlight that. He came with his sword. He's supposed to come with a dragon too to represent the dragon of the darkness flame, but I don't have mine anymore. This one doesn't have his base either. You can see he's supposed to come with the base. Out of all the figures in the first wave, he's definitely the most posable. Like, he's not as restricted as Yusuke and Kuwabara are. You know, some actual waist movement. So if you actually are into posing, he actually can get the job done. He doesn't have to stand there like a statue. The only complaint that I would have, and probably a lot of people would have, is that he's looking down. Like, it's not like the way like I have like his head can only swivel. Like, he's legit looking down. So yeah, that could be a little off-putting. I mean, like, it upsets my wife. Like, she does not like the fact that he's actually like he's just looking straight down. But overall, it's a cool figure as well. It too was re-released by Jack Specific, except the shirt was painted blue for the later part of the saga, the Dark Tournament. If you can get your hands on either or, it's a good one, especially if you're a Hiei fan. He's my personal favorite character, so that's why I got this one. I would like to get the blue shirted one, but I'll do that eventually. But I'm also okay with having just this one for now. He's also really short compared to the other figures too, but I know Hiei is supposed to be the shortest, but if someone in the comments can tell me, is he really supposed to be this short compared to them? Because I don't think he was that much shorter. And the last one in the first wave is Kurama in his red school uniform. These bases get a little tough to take off the longer they stay on there. He too is very accurate to the show, although I think they made him a little too dark, but I'll let that slide. Same amount of detail as the other ones. Full 360. This is the oldest figure I have, that's why he's a little dusty. For accessories, he comes with his rose whip, as well as a little mini rose here, which he can hold in his hand, but it's kind of a pain in the ass to try to get it to stay. Out of all four of them, I feel like next to Yusuke, he is the most pre-posed. Like, his arm can only really do that and just bend. This arm is permanently bent with just a swivel. You know, you can't, and like, I didn't really understand this part. Like, I know they're supposed to be like action figures and so they can kick, But literally, like, you're not really going to get much kicking action out of that. So therefore, you can really just only stand them up and just mess with their arms if that's really how you like it posing them. These were clearly meant for display, so they weren't really meant to be played with. I mean, the only figure that you can really play with is just Hiei, but that's really it, because the Yusuke and the Kuwabara, as well as Kurama here, are just pre-posed and kind of stuck like this. He too was re-released by Jakks Pacific, but they gave him a lighter pink, and I think they made his hair pink as well. I'm not too sure. You know, all three of those figures, Yusuke, Hiei, and Kurama, were re-released by Jakks Pacific. The Kuwabara one was excluded, so this is the only version of it you get from this first wave. But overall, all four figures are amazing, especially if you like the first season or when they team up. So I highly recommend these ones. Damn. I recommend them for your collections, especially if you're into vintage ones. Now on to wave 2. Like I said, I only have 2 of them. I don't. Well, he fell. I only have Yusuke in his Dark Tournament gear and Koenma. I don't, like I said, I don't have the Botan or the Suzaku, and quite frankly, I don't care for those characters at all. Neither does my wife. So let's look at Yusuke. Like I said, he is in his Dark Tournament gear. And this one is actually a lot more opposable than the other Yusuke. More free range of the hands, fists, waist, hips, thighs, knees, ankles. So this one actually feels more like an action figure than it does a figure. Although I noticed that some of the, like, it's not just mine, like some of the Yusuke, this leg right here doesn't really move. Like, I've tried messing with it for years. It just does not want to move, and I feel like I'm going to break it if I mess with it anymore. This one, same level of detail, although I kind of feel like this one's a little lacking, especially in his face. He looks a little constipated. Like, I know he's supposed to be angry, but yeah, it is what it is. Overall, I would between the two Yusukes, here they are side by side. If you like more detail and more statue-like, I'd go for this one. But if you like more posability and more action figure-like, I'll go with that one. But overall, they're both pretty cool figures, especially for you Yusuke lovers out there. So I recommend them both, although I'll recommend the green one over the Dark Tournament one. And then last that I have to show is Koenma. Here he is in his Earth form. This one is actually a really nice one. I think it's the most common one on eBay at the moment to get this one. The detail, same standard for If Labs. Same amount of articulation as Yusuke, although his legs are really restrictive. Plus, as you saw when he fell, he's really top heavy, so you really got to mess with him to get him to stand. And he's not really posable, like his arms are really restricted. This is really loose. And like I said, legs are restricted. But then again, Koenma's not really a fighter. And for his accessory, he came with his Spirit World form. Yeah, which is basically a statue. But it's cute looking, especially if you really like him in this form. But it does have some posability. Like its head can move. This arm can move. This one can too, but it's like, what's the point? And then his little ankles to move. So yeah, he's basically a statue. But yeah, if you count him as a figure on itself, then this is the only 2-pack in the Yu Yu Hakusho wave. But I recommend him to an extent. I don't know how many fans Koenma really has, but I got him for my wife because she loves him. All right. Actually. Yep. So that's our video on the If Labs Yu Yu Hakusho action figures to make up for Toy Box Tyme's lack of Yu Yu Hakusho knowledge. These figures are kind of, I will admit that they do go kind of pricey. Just depends if you can get them in the box or out of the box, and some of them are just really difficult to find. Like I said, the Kuwabara one is the most rare. The two Yusuke's are the most common. And if you want the whole set, be on the lookout for Botan and Shizaku. And I think If Labs did a really good job with these figures. Like, between the 3 shows that they did, these are definitely the most detailed and accurate to their shows. The Dragon Ball Z ones were cool too, but they were based off the movies, and their faces were really weird looking as well. And it was very obvious that those ones were meant to be action figures more than statues. And the OG Dragon Ball ones, they were cool too, but I don't have any of them. But this is about Yu Yu Hakusho. So, yeah, that's our little retrospective on If Labs Yu Yu Hakusho. If anybody has any more questions about these figures, please leave a like, and I would suggest go collect them now if you're into collecting. But until then, all right, sorry about that. I'll be getting back to my regular posts now, but I just wanted to do this just because I really felt like these needed some more highlight, especially because nobody really talks about these on YouTube very much. So usually when you hear about If Labs, it's usually about Dragon Ball Z. So let's give Yu Yu Hakusho some love, why don't we? All right, that's it for now. Take care.